This is the beginning of a very good day.
Coming up.
I think they're walking into new territory.
I pray you live life to the fullest.
Never before a project like this for dads in prison.
That's catchy, huh?
How musicians will help these men compose lullabies for their kids.
I know men a lot of times don't show the depth of their love.
Just remember, your mistakes don't define you.
Voices of love.
I'll be your father.
From Dads in Yellow.
I'll stay faithful and true.
Ahead, the power of music to bring hope and change.
Are my shining stars.
Best thing that happened in my time.
Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief that the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers. In this program, we take you on a musical journey as we follow the Lullaby Project at the Hiland Mountain Correctional Center outside of Eagle River. Normally, lullabies are associated with moms, but for the first time in Alaska, this project involves men. 8 dads in yellow who wrote lullabies for their kids with help from 8 musicians. But before we get to that, let's turn the clock back to 2016, the start of the Lullaby Project in Alaska.
This is the beginning of a very good day. This is just a feeling things are going my way.
Alaska's very first Lullaby Project brought 2 groups of women together, musicians on the outside to help moms on the inside connect with their kids. Sounds simple.
Keep singing.
But the work was hard and painful.
I haven't seen my babies in so long.
Many of these moms had lost touch with their kids.
I chose drugs over my children, and that's not an easy thing to say.
But lullabies can say what words cannot.
Gentle, not too rough of a stroke.
The inmates were asked to write letters to their children, a starting point to compose lyrics for their lullabies.
You are the most precious thing that I ever had in my life. Just know that you are my angels.
You've said falling angels many times, right? This, and I'm wondering if you'd like that to be the title.
Then their words were put to music, recorded on a CD.
You have my nose, you have my smile.
For their children to hear a song written just for them.
You are my life to the moon and beyond.
The women bonded in a way that only women can.
I love you to the moon and back.
And Hiland Mountain became more than just a place to serve time.
No, this is a place where dreams can be dreamed and hopes can be fulfilled.
And then
I got a smile about a half a mile.
the woman who brought the Lullaby Project to Hiland began to dream a new dream.
Ideally, I would love to do this Lullaby Project in a men's facility in this state. I think that would be so powerful because it almost feels natural that the mother will write a lullaby. But I think it should feel as natural to have those fathers say those words to their children through a song. Can you imagine that?
You are my life.
And what Shirley Mae Springer Staten imagined came to pass, the very first lullaby project of its kind in the nation to work with men in prison.
Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody.
The musicians may have a map of the journey ahead, but no idea what to expect.
Sit beside a person that you do not know.
And neither do the men. So first they meet, then learn a little about each other.
Tell me one thing that was fabulous about your day.
Ron Matthews says he just passed his GED test.
My name's Josh.
Joshua Kitka got approval to work in the prison coffee shop. And Dexter Reedy found out his wife and daughter will soon come to visit. And then there's David Anderson.
Today is my birthday.
Oh, no! Yay!
David got his birthday wish to write a lullaby for his mom, Carly, who has also served time here at Hiland Mountain.
It was very weird to know both.
Carla Hicks is one of 2 social workers in the entire prison system. That's how she came to know both Carly and David.
It just made me go, oh my gosh.
And the story of how drug addiction broke the bond between mother and child.
He was in foster care growing up. She had given him up as a kid. And so she did not find him until 3 years ago.
Eventually, they both wound up at Hiland in separate units. Carla Hicks made special arrangements for them to meet. Not long afterwards, Carly was released from prison. David wanted to write a lullaby to keep their connection alive. And although he is not a dad, he was invited to join the project.
You know 2 people who have the same desire to know my mama, to know my child, but that hate, that I'm mad at you, is gone. And the key thing about it is trying to find a song that can soften both of them and that can give them that peace that everybody desires to move on in their life.
I grew up in foster care when I was 13, and then before that, I was with my grandma at age 6.
David Anderson shares his story with Kevin R. McCoy. They don't know it yet, but they'll be paired up to write David's lullaby. And like David, the men here worry about what happens next when they meet again.
Your only job on Saturday is to be authentic with yourself.
The inmates are encouraged to finish their letters to their children.
Imagine that your child finds this letter 20 years from now.
When I'm talking to my son, I don't want to give him too much information.
Olin Napoleon hasn't written much in his notebook. His story is hard to write, full of pain he doesn't want to pass on to his son.
You don't have to worry about if your child will love it. They're going to love it because it comes from you. It's an amazing gift that you have the opportunity to give to your child.
To help the men understand the true value of that gift, Shirley Mae Springer Staten sings a lullaby written by a Hiland mom.
No one can make me feel the way that you do. I will always, always, always love you. How powerful that is for a child to hear. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
But also powerful to write a lullaby.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I was pretty nervous going in. Didn't really know what to expect. You got the swirl of stereotypes and movies.
But David's story about his reunion with his mother here at Hiland lingers in the night air.
And for a brief time, they were in this prison together. But he says it was a great time because he got to spend quality time with his mother. The irony of that, that you know, you find a jewel like that in a prison.
And so the journey begins.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Out of the darkness, towards the light.
Let it shine.
Up next, Midwives of Music.
Da 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 da.
Maybe not the best way to describe the role of the male musicians who helped to give birth to lullabies at Hiland. Now, we come to the heart of our story, the birth of the lullabies. Well, the men in the Lullaby Project were much slower to open up to each other than the women, but even so, they were ready to go to work.
They were excited, but guarded, introspective maybe. They're thinking, they're processing differently.
The Lullaby Project has always seemed like a natural fit for the women at Hiland, but no one was quite sure how the men would respond.
Some of the men that maybe think that they need to keep up this facade that I'm tough, I'm macho, I think they're walking into new territory. I think they're going to become softer, they're going to become even though they are men, they're going to recognize that they are fathers.
This is the beginning of a very good day. This is just a feeling things are going my way.
The musicians and dads are about to be paired.
The person whom you've been assigned to is actually the perfect person that will help you on this journey.
I was like, oh, yes, thank you.
Some, like David Anderson and Kevin R. McCoy, have a natural chemistry.
Since I was a young child, my mom has been in and out of prison.
Right.
While the other men will write lullabies for their children, David's is for his mother, who was recently released from Hiland.
That is so cool.
That is me providing healing to her, because honestly, it has always been that way, even when I was a young kid.
I would love to help you communicate to your mother that I still have acceptance.
Yes.
You are still my mother, and I love you.
Unconditional love. So hard to express here on the inside. But Michael McCoy still tries.
I'm not telling you how to do it.
Okay.
But this is a general idea of what I want.
Michael worries his son is getting picked on and wants to encourage him to have faith in himself.
Knowing who you are, keeping the faith.
Yeah, where ultimately you're supposed to love everybody. But if you don't have faith in yourself and you're not confident and love yourself, how do you love other people?
Exactly.
There's a joyful life.
There is also Olin Napoleon.
There's a bit of a line that needs work here.
Olin's lullaby is for his 12-year-old son.
My mistakes that I made in my life, he doesn't have to live those mistakes. That we can end our family's suffering with me.
Olin struggles with alcohol addiction, just as his father, who went to prison after the death of Olin's half-brother, a tragedy that happened when Olin was about the same age as his own son is now.
Part of that, too, is really, I've forgiven my father. You know, it's taken me a long time, but in this past year, I've forgiven my father for what he has done. And I want my son to know that, but at the same time, it's a message to my father.
Da 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 da.
In just a few hours, the musicians have found melodies to match the words.
It's just bubbling up now, ain't it?
Kenny Blackwell adds a few risks.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Michael has the verses nailed down.
My child, there's some things that I have to say to you. You can do anything that you set your mind to, you know?
Finally, everything comes together.
My child, some things I have to say to you. You can do anything you set your mind to.
As in any birth, there is a sense of anticipation.
It makes me feel excited that I'm doing something good for my kids. I want them to know that I love them no matter what.
Joy! Messages of love that leave Hiland, headed to a recording studio to grow and take on a life of their own.
I'm inviting joy to come and to stay.
Wow.
Here at Surreal Studios,
1, 2, 1.
The musical labor of love begins.
It felt like being in a womb of melodies, of music.
Let me hear that bass.
Carly, your love. Yeah, there you go.
Kevin R. McCoy sings mostly in church, so he's new to the studio scene.
Carly, my mom.
Still a little early on the Carly. Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Although Kevin R. is here to give back, he finds himself on the receiving end.
Carly, I've seen your heart. You've struggled so hard. You've been stretched so far.
There was just such security and warmth and peace there, knowing that you're in here with these great professional musicians and they have you. They're catching you.
Not all the lullabies are easy. Olin Napoleon's has, well, an odd refrain.
The last line is itchy baby, stinky baby, crunchy baby poop.
Itchy baby, stinky baby, crunchy baby, poop.
a reference to an inside family diaper joke.
When that line first came out, we were all a little bit, I know I was, I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And he was adamant. He says, he will know those words.
The language of music has a voice of its own.
It's easier to do it with feelings instead of, because trying to put the words to it can be difficult sometimes.
And the feelings in this song are those of a dad who wants to be there for his son.
But just remember, your mistakes don't define you. In your life, don't let anyone label you.
Words of love and comfort from afar.
I'll stay faithful and true.
Nice work, Kenny.
While the musicians do their part, the dads in yellow do theirs.
Check 1, 2.
The children in the Lullaby Project will get a copy of their dad's song made just for them.
Move on forward. We're going to get you about that far away from the microphone.
And the first thing each will hear, Dad's voice.
So it's like if they were just in front of you, what you would say to them.
Emily, Michael, and Melody, I was thinking of you guys, and I made this song for you. I love you guys.
Michael's family moved to Idaho, so he hasn't seen his kids in 5 years.
Good going, man.
Thank you.
Now, a chance to let them know how much he cares.
I think it's sort of an impossibly hard thing to express.
But they try.
I love you, my son. As far as the east is from the west.
Have a seat.
Messages from dads in yellow.
JD, I'm sorry for, the time that we've been separated.
Alike, but different.
Hi, Mom. It's me, David, your son, obviously.
Simple, but complicated.
I wrote this song in hopes that it sinks into your heart, and it's coming from the bottom of my heart. It's coming from a broken place, but I want you guys to enjoy it.
I just love you with all my heart, and I hope you like this song from your dad.
You are my shining star.
One of the freedoms that dads in yellow lose, the joy of giving their kids a present.
Best thing that happened in my time.
So these lullabies may be the only gift a child has received from dad in a long time.
True loves of my life. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
Sunshine is missed the most in the winter, and perhaps none more so than in prison.
You'll never know, dear, how much I love you.
No matter the season.
I came into this with a lot of trepidation, being exposed in yellow.
I'm just going to put it in, and we'll just listen through it.
Gone are the quiet, awkward moments.
You guys are like this. You're buzzing.
Buzzing with excitement because this is what they've waited for.
We both know the world is just not kind enough. I pray.
The songs, like the birth of a baby,
Carly, my mom,
come with a sense of joy and surprise because each song, like a child, is a mystery until it arrives.
To title the song Carly after her name and then to hear the lyrics today, just really, I don't know, just really stirs me up.
Michael McCoy thanked the musicians for the gift of their time and most of all for their kindness and respect.
Jesus talked about how he used to come and visit people that were less than, the outcasts, the people that no one wanted to be around. In my heart, I feel the love in this room, and when I heard my song, I don't usually cry, but I want to cry because I know that it's going to touch my kid's life in ways that you guys don't even understand.
And while the work here wasn't easy for any of the men,
it was like a train on square wheels at times.
The lullabies have become more than just songs.
I think this is truly a defining moment as far as, us as inmates.
Live a joy-filled life, Lee-ma-lee. Live a joy-filled life, as you see.
Ilimali in the Yupik language means one who knows it all, or wise guy, Olin Napoleon's nickname for his son.
Itchy baby, stinky baby, crunchy baby. Again, and.
The song is pure Yupik humor, a loving way to keep you humble.
Itchy baby, stinky baby, crunchy baby. Cha-cha-cha.
A song to bring a smile to a kid who misses his dad. A song Olin Napoleon hopes will heal his family.
There's a power to music.
Power the men in yellow were reminded to put to good use.
That's the greatest gift, is go home to your children and connect with your children. And remember the words that you said. Don't let me see you back in here. Keep going. Use this as a fuel to keep on moving forward.
And we're not done just yet.
Live a joy-filled life, Lee-ma-lee.
Ahead, how these songs of love are shared, not just with children, but with the community. You might call this the icing on the cake. The Lullaby Project culminates in a community concert. It's rare to invite the community to a prison.
Here you go, sir.
In fact, out of 3 lullaby prison projects in the nation, Hiland is the only one with a community concert.
The song I wrote for my kids, which are here in the audience.
The song composed just for Brody, Scott, and Elvira is called Wherever You Go.
I love you more than I'll ever know. I carry you wherever we go.
This song is for my son, Christian Napoleon. He's sitting right there in front row. I love you, son.
Christian will be happy to hear his nickname in the song, Ilimali, or Wise Guy.
Live a joy-filled life, Lee-ma-lee.
The same name Olin's dad used for him when he was small.
Live a joy-filled life.
Topped off with that family diaper joke.
Itchy baby, stinky baby, crunchy baby, poo. I love you, son.
This song is called Carly. It's named after my mom. In fact, my mom is here in the audience.
David Anderson's song, a reminder that prison is all too often a family affair.
Us in our matching yellow, what an awesome look.
But in the humor, there is also hope.
Carly, I've seen your heart. You struggle so hard.
It's way more than a song. So much more than a song. It's a minor miracle.
Something that might be said for just about every song here.
I'll stay faithful and true.
There are copies of the Lullaby Project CDs for sale. They help to raise money to keep the program going, and you can find information on how to buy them at the Alaska Keys to Life website. And for more about the Lullaby Project and how you can get involved, stay tuned for our Extended Frontiers program on the Hiland Lullaby Project.
Thanks.
When life in prison returns to normal, what kind of impact does the Lullaby Project have on the dads in yellow? We'll be right back. Welcome back to our special, the Hiland Lullaby Project, Dads in Yellow. It's modeled on Carnegie Hall's Lullaby program, which has projects all over the world, and all of them have one thing in common. They work with parents to form a stronger bond with their children. But the Carnegie Institute calls Alaska's Lullaby Project for Men a brand new chapter in the lullaby movement, one that it hopes to learn from because not much is known yet about how this program might help men. So when a group of male musicians was chosen for this project, they ventured into uncharted territory.
Welcome, welcome, everybody, welcome. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Harmonize. Welcome, welcome, everybody, welcome. Welcome, welcome, everybody.
For the first time in Alaska, both men and women are part of this lullaby workshop for musicians.
As you inhale, I want you to draw the air in towards you.
A very different atmosphere than when there were just the women.
And out.
The men are more reserved.
Breathing in all that's good and wonderful in the world.
They needed more time to open up.
Breathing in the beauty of nature. Breathing out everything that harms us.
Philip Schultz teaches lullaby workshops across the country.
How many of you remember songs that were sung to you at nighttime as a child?
This group just went with the flow.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Soothing songs to help a child sail into the land of dreams.
Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John?
Hard to believe many here had just met, yet could spin simple threads of melody.
Everybody's got another one? You could throw that on there too.
And weave them into a tapestry of sound.
Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John?
Soon they will bring their gift for harmony.
This little light of mine, ooh, I'm gonna let it shine.
To another group of people whose lives have been full of discord.
Walk in there as a blank slate because you don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. All you know is that it will happen.
You are the vehicle from where these songs will come through you. These songs are for the children, and that's what we have to remember. And the children didn't commit that crime.
The Carnegie Institute created a workbook for inmate moms to help them build bridges back to their children.
This is a big family, this network, an international network.
But until the Hiland Mountain Project, there wasn't one for inmate dads.
This is the nucleus from which you're going to create something.
These men are the first to try out the workbook. Each had to fill it out and write a letter to their kids. Asi Kayakik drew from his experience as a singer and drummer for Alaska Native dance groups.
Dunapa. So I say this twice.
I give you, he says to his son in Yupik, I give you the name of your grandfather.
You have a wonderful name of a family.
Lullabies work in mysterious ways.
It's more than just the music, it's a whole body experience.
The oldest written lullaby is about 5,000 years old, a language of love needed now more than ever. Why are you such a believer in lullaby?
Well, I mean, it works. We've got enough research now from the Carnegie researchers that lullabies provide an opportunity for parents to express feelings that allow them to bond more with their children, whether they are present with their children or not.
In our state, people are so frustrated because the crime rate is going up.
We kind of put people in jail and we think good riddance for a while.
Baby beluga, is the water warm? Is your mama home with you so happy?
And lullaby sees the inherent good and possibility in everyone. Prison system does not see that inherent good in everyone. It's a holding place.
Dunaka, dunaka, I give you, I give you.
That's the hook to the song.
Yeah, so, and it goes, Dunaka, dunaka, ikhnaka.
Asi Gayakayak says his lullaby was good preparation for the work ahead. And when he goes to Hiland to help a father compose his own song, he wants him to feel free to shed his old life.
The trauma or whatever places where we are does not define the person.
And as the trees will dress themselves in new leaves come spring, Asi says the lullaby they will write together can be worn like a new chuspak or shirt. At least that's his hope.
I have no idea what the outcome's gonna be. That's the scary part. But the other half of it is exciting. Tunaka, tunaka, ikhnaka. At kchilach tu tenilam nekwaniwa. Tunaka, tunaka, yukuhdam atran. Atuh kanak.
Ossie says today he feels very humbled and privileged to have worked with a father to create something magical for his child. Up next, we'll hear from two other artists who worked on the Men's Lullaby Project, Chris Sturm and Kevin R. McCoy, what they learned and how they grew from this experience. It's been said that dads in prison are overwhelmingly fatherless themselves. And maybe that's one of the benefits of the Lullaby Project for men, to help them get in touch with that inner fatherhood instinct. And joining us now to talk about that, how the Lullaby Project was a growth experience for both the musicians and the inmates, Kevin R. McCoy and Chris Sturm. And each of you mentored an inmate. And of course, you know, you mentored David Anderson, who was the only person that wasn't a dad in the project, but was writing a song for his mom. Did you find any sort of life-changing type of experience out of this?
I really did. I went into Hiland Mountain with a lot of preconceived notions and not really knowing what to expect. But as I began to talk to my artist, I started discovering that there's no real difference between he and I. I mean, he was a young guy, he made some bad decisions. I was young once and I made some bad decisions. It just so happened I didn't end up in prison for the things I had been involved in. And that oneness, that connection really let me know that we're the same. We're the same.
How about you, Chris? Do you feel changed?
I do, because like Kevin, I had some preconceived ideas of what it was going to be like and what the inmates would be like. But through that process, I got to know him as people and as dads. And like with the father I worked with at the CD unveiling, one of the things he talked about was holding his daughter for the first time. You know, and it really moves you, because you realize that they've got those same deep emotional connections that the rest of us have, and they're just in a different situation. Like Kevin R. said, you know, they made some bad choices that caused them to be somewhere that, you know, we didn't, because certainly we've all made bad choices.
Now, I have to admit, because I've watched the Women's Lullaby Project and now the Men's, and tell you, there were some moments that I got a little bit worried about the guys. It just seemed slower in coming together. Why was that, you think? Why are men from Mars and women from Venus?
Well, I know it was, I mean, in the beginning, we were quiet. It took a long time for us to warm up. But, you know, Shirley May was reminding us too, like, you know, when we had that CD unveiling, we were chatty Cathy's all night, and she had to prompt us to leave 2 or 3 times, and finally we did, you know. But it's, I don't know, you know, what it is, but I think part of it might be that process of just, you know, as us getting to know each other and establish relationships. I mean, you know, we got to know each other very well during that time, and it was a short amount of time, hours we're talking, to really get to know each other.
It was almost like an education and what it's like to be incarcerated. And I want to go back to David Anderson, his mom, Carly. I mean, it is so bizarre that families have reunions in prison, because David also had a father who served time with him concurrently when he was in Kenai. So, and he's not the only one that has that kind of story. What do you think about that in the aftermath?
I think what an amazing thing to happen, and that a prison would serve as a backdrop for these relationships being mended. It's almost unthinkable to be in the same prison with one parent, but in David's case, he was in there with both, and both times he was able to reconnect with them and begin the healing process. It's a true testament to the prison systems here in Alaska and their commitment to rehabilitation.
But, you know, it's sort of sad, though, and we have to say this, is that the song was written to help Carly stay out of prison, encourage her, but then she wound up going back.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and I try not to let that sway me. I believe that even though she's back in prison, I think when she turns it around again, I think it will take less time. I think it will be less problematic as a result of this project and the things that were imparted to her through this project, to have a son to say, even in spite of all these mistakes and things that happened in our lives, I don't blame you and I love you.
And it's all about love. That's what it comes down to.
It's about love, it's about relationships, and that's what I thought was so great about this project, is that the fathers have something to give to their kids, their families, their wives. You know, I mean, one of the other artists I worked with, I mean, he talked about this song being as much for his wife as it was for his kids. You know, and it's like, how do they maintain those relationships and those connections, you know, when they are being rehabilitated? I mean, they're on a path to change. This is one of those pieces that helps reconnect them with families and their kids in particular.
Well, with the legislature working on criminal justice, you know, they always talk about getting tough on crime, but this is a little different.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the things I think about is this is meaningful work, right? This is something meaningful that they did that is going to carry on beyond just that moment. And I think about my own work, and that's what I try to do with everyone, is make things meaningful.
Right. And this was very meaningful. It touched me just covering it. But anyway, I want to thank both of you, Chris Sturm and Kevin R. McCoy, for joining us. And up next, we hear from an inmate who is about to be released from prison.
It brought me and my son a lot closer. We were close before, but you know, for him to see the reaction on his face when I sang it to him was priceless.
How the Lullaby Project gave Olin Napoleon a voice that speaks to him in ways he never dreamed. We may not know the full impact of the Lullaby Project for years down the road, but Olin Napoleon says it's already made a difference in his life. He's about to go out into the world again and says that his lullaby has helped him prepare for this transition.
Live a joy-filled life, theme of me. Live a joy-filled life as you see.
Olin Napoleon's lullaby is a catchy tune. Some of his fellow dads in yellow say it has a way of getting stuck in your head.
Thanks.
Many of the dads say the Lullaby Project brought them closer together, but soon their unit will be broken up. Alaska has a new governor, and his administration has decided to close the men's unit at Hiland. On the day we arrived, the men were told to pack up, but not where they would be moved. Olin wishes there was some way he could let his family know where he'll be sent, but that's a fact of prison life. There is so little you can control.
Live a joy-filled life.
But the lullabies are something these dads can take with them wherever they go. Olin says his lullaby has helped him reflect on what got him into prison.
My mistakes are mine, they're clear to see, so the man you become will ever be free.
Now he's more determined than ever to be there for his son.
I've had a lot of DUIs.
Olin believes his battle with alcohol is connected to the trauma he experienced as a boy when his dad was sent to prison.
Not only did I feel abandoned, but I felt that my father didn't love me when I was young.
Olin says he understands why his father cut himself off from his children, because he felt they would be better off without him. If your dad had been able to write you a lullaby, what would you have wanted it to say?
Just that he loves me. He thinks about me every day, which I'm pretty sure he did.
Olin says his song is a constant reminder to protect his son from family trauma.
It really came from my heart saying, hey, you know, I want our suffering, our family suffering to end with me.
That the suffering that we have no way ends with me.
Olin says he sings this song to his son every time they talk on the phone to help him understand that together they will break the cycle.
Live a joy-filled life. Live a joy-filled life.
Well, Olin Napoleon is now in a culinary training program, so he'll likely have a job when he gets out in a few more weeks. And that's one of the important aspects of the Lullaby Project, getting the inmates ready for life on the outside. And it'll go lots better if they can successfully reconnect with their families. And joining us now to give us sort of the long-term view of the Lullaby Project, Shirley Mae Staten Springer. And I have to call you the mother of the Lullaby Project in Alaska. You were the one who got the ball rolling. But you know, one of the things that maybe we should talk about is you've had the Women's Project going. Right. What do you know so far about whether or not these women return to prison? Does the Lullaby Project overall seem to help?
I think the Lullaby Project is a part of everything, certainly for the women at Hiland. They must enter the mother's program, take classes, parenting classes, before they can even come into Lullaby. So I think everything that's done at Hiland, in addition to Lullaby, supports the women in their after they leave the institution.
So what are you seeing? You know, you've
So
seen
we
enough
did
classes.
a study. Yeah, we ran some numbers. I asked Superintendent Johnson. I gave her a list of the
Gloria Johnson.
Yes, who is the superintendent at Hiland. I gave her a list of all of the women that had participated in the project, and it was, where are they now? And some women, yes, have returned. I was surprised with the number of women that have not returned, that they've gone on to live productive lives. And I think, again, that Lullaby is that one thread that connects them to their children and continuously connect them through the power of music. And that's the magic of this project.
Well, one of the things we saw is the men in the Lullaby Project were moved to the Anchorage jail, also known as AJ. And they weren't really happy about that. That wasn't the thing that they wanted to have happen. But I did talk with Olin, Napoleon, and Michael McCoy at the Cordova House, where they're getting ready to transition to life on the outside. And, you know, I asked Olin, you know, about that change to OJ or to AJ and the impact on him. So let's listen.
As angry as I was going to AJ, I still had a sense of, you know, the joy. There was that there was hope, there was joy, there was some anger, but I don't live in despair anymore. You know, and this project, you know, really pinpointed that and made that really, really clear.
How do you feel to hear that?
I feel joy. Now, one of the things that Olin said in the process, that he has been in and out of jail 11 years. And in the 11 years, he's never had the opportunity to participate in a project such as Lullaby. And that, to me, is very important, that we continuously offer new opportunities for those who are incarcerated so that they can connect with themselves, because that's really what Lullaby is about, so that they can connect with themselves. That's why we developed the workbook. And that connection then transfers to the children, to the wife, and to the family. And as we've seen over the years, the Lullaby has shifted that narrative about people who are incarcerated. And that's another powerful tool when we think about people who are sitting in our jails, and many of them will get out of jail. Do we want them, and I say this often, as well as Superintendent Johnson, do we want them better individuals when they re-enter society, or do we want to just house them and have them come out the same way that they went in? Lullaby help us shift that narrative.
Well, the family is the key, you know, and Michael McCoy, of course, his family moved to Idaho after he was incarcerated.
Right.
So he lost touch for 5 years with his kids. And he talked to me when he was at Cordova House about reconnecting with his son. So let's listen.
The song, it opened a lot of emotions up for him. He actually cried because he realized how much I really love him, and that even though I was in prison, I was still thinking about him, and that I still cared about, you know, his life, and that I wasn't just giving up on him. That, you know, even though I was away, I was still there with him to walk, you know, through all the stuff that he's been struggling with.
Even in considering developing the men's component for the Lullaby, there was a lot of conversation that men wouldn't be able to get in touch with their feelings to even begin to write a lullaby.
But it was slow.
It was slow, but you know, it's like the turtle, they arrived, they got there, they were able to engage with, again, themselves in terms of writing that letter, to say the words that sometimes were unsaid, and using those words to create the song for their children.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about Keys to Life, the nonprofit that really got Lullaby off the ground, and it does other things. I mean, this stuff doesn't just magically happen. You know, it takes some money and community support.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
Keys to Life is now 4 years old. Lullaby is now 4 years old. It was the first project that we did for Keys to Life. And our mission is to use the arts to connect us.
And what we're seeing here is the CD that's for sale. You can go to the Keys to Life website and order one. And
purchase last year, the year before, and including the first year. We also have around town the Eyes Closed project, and that is the dreams of young people in our community. We do connect with each other through dinners. We have actually a virtual dinner coming up next year where we will connect with Alaskans and people who live in Mexico City. We are planning to bring the Soweto Gospel Choir here as a part of building community beyond the walls of Anchorage. And we just had a fundraiser to help us with our work. You know, in this community, in all communities, there are these divides. And what Keys to Life does is help us move across those divides.
Divides. And I'm glad you're here to help us do that, to overcome those. Thank you, Shirley May, Springer Staten, for joining us. And also thank you for joining us for this expanded edition of Frontiers. I hope that, like me, some of these lullaby songs are stuck in your head, bringing a smile to your lips. We'll see you next week.
You are my shining stars, best thing that happened in my time. You are my shining stars, two loves of my life. Remember we went to the park, went out for Happy Meals, watching Disney movies, sang Christmas songs, swinging on the swing. You are my shining stars, best thing that happened in my time. You are my shining stars, true love of my life. You'll have a good time, sometime bad. I'll be there for you. Honor God as you choose, lean on me for advice. Make your future real. You are my shining stars, best thing that happened in my time. You are my shining stars, true love of my life. I've been working hard to be with you. I changed my life for good. I know our day is coming, we'll be together.